Could you tell us a little bit about your thinking on having a personal philosophy and then your own personal mission?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what is a philosophy? Like, let's start there. And everybody tuned in right now has a philosophy. So a philosophy, whether you can articulate it or not, is something different. Whether you really deeply understand it is different. But a philosophy is a set of guiding principles. Guiding what? Guiding your thoughts, your words, and your actions. So the principles that you hold dearly help inform the thoughts you have, the words you choose, and the actions you take. Now, what do I mean you already have a philosophy? You bought a car or didn't, you chose, maybe you bought a bicycle. You are renting or you bought a home in a certain part of a city, in a certain part of the country, like certain part of the planet. So these are your actions, the words that you choose, the words you choose to yourself and others. Those are all referenced against your guiding principles. So when I think about it that way, I say, well, why not just know what your guiding principles are? Why not really know them? And then you've almost got like these pillars to bounce up against when you are trying to figure out, like, how do I maximize or optimize, or how do I find a deeper sense of joy or happiness or freedom? And these pillars, these guiding principles will inform your thoughts, your words, and your actions. And when you have all three of those lined up, that's good now. When your thoughts, your words, and your actions are lined up, it's really powerful. Then what it allows you to do is have that sturdiness that I was talking about earlier, and you can progressively move into more challenging environments. And what you're doing is you're testing your technical skill lined up against, can I really maintain the integrity of me? My thoughts, my words, and my actions. Actions is really about the technical skill. And if the integrity of the framework starts to rock or shake or break or crumble, you got to go back to the drawing board. But it's not hard, right? But the principles are foundational. And so we challenge people to do that alone work. Nobody can give them to you. You can adopt and use other people's brilliance, but it's alone work. There's nobody that can give you your purpose. There's nobody that can give you your philosophy. As a awake adult, it is your responsibility to know them. And so that's how I think about philosophy. That's where I go with the importance of philosophy.
I love that. So for folks who are doing that or want to do some version of this in the first place, what's an example of an exercise or process look like for distilling down your personal philosophy, your guiding principles?
Okay, so the exercise is simple, right? There's three ways to get at this that I think is most effective. Mindfulness, that's one. I know you guys talk a lot about that, so mindfulness is one. A second is conversations with wise people, if you're fortunate enough to be there. And then the third is writing. It's those three. And I've got a primer that I help people walk through. It's in the online course that I mentioned earlier. And so there's no kind of magic underneath of it. It's sit and understand. And those are three mechanisms to do it: mindfulness, conversations with wise people, and then writing.
In goal setting theory, they talk about three levels of goals, like a mission statement for your life level, then your hard goals that are the big things you have to do to accomplish that statement thing, and then your clear goals. What are you doing today, right? Checklist kind of stuff. My question is, I've heard of a mission, like my mission statement, right? I want to write great books. I want to make the world a better place for animals. I want to advance flow science and training. That's a mission statement. It's not a philosophy. How would you talk to me about a philosophy? Because that's a component that's very unique to how you think about this thing, and different from how kind of most goal setting stuff works.
That's right.
So talk about what you deeply mean by a philosophy, and I want to know where that came from for you.
So if we look back at the most influential people on the planet, it's two general sources, right? There's the thinkers, the spiritual mystics, and those tend to be curated at the 11 world religions. And then there's activists and scientists, right? So I said two, I meant three. And so when you look at when you examine Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s approach to life, he had a very clear philosophy. I bet without any deep discovery, you know what it is, right? What would you say his philosophy is if you were to be a reductionist to this amazing man's life?
Non-violent grit.
Yeah. So
Right.
A grit towards equality.
Justice.
Right?
Yeah.
Non-violent grit towards equality. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so the purpose was to create a world where there was equality. And his approach towards that, his unique tone, was about nonviolence. Okay. And then he had all this passion and perseverance, against it. Okay. So I call passion and perseverance, those are more skills. And then the philosophy is it's a nonviolent, equitable world that I'm looking for. The mission is day in and day out to live aligned with that, to go in every room that I can possibly be in and talk about it and be about it and demonstrate it and mobilize toward it. That's the mission. Okay. The philosophy is really love, equality. Those are philosophical notes. Nonviolence is a philosophical note. Malcolm X had a very similar philosophy, equality, but he had actually different philosophical notes by any means necessary. But his mission was still alive, right? And so then, so we've got philosophy is the philosophical notes, the guiding principles. The mission is the activation of it. And we can bounce out of this and talk about like military. The mission is to take the hill for what? The purpose, the bigger thing. And then the purpose would be to protect the lives of the native country that we're protecting. Okay, that's the purpose. And then one step up, vision. What does it look like, feel like, sound like if that thing were to happen?
Mm-hmm.
So his vision, Dr. King's vision, was like, wow, could you imagine if people could sit wherever they wanted on a bus? We could go to whatever, could you imagine? And so he had this vision of what he was working toward. The mission was real to him and the purpose was clear. These are all, I know it sounds like we're thin slicing, but they're very different words and meanings. But the philosophy are the guiding principles that you bounce up against to say, is this how I want to do this? It's the how, not the mechanical goal how, but the tonal how, right? It's tonally. Principles are tone-based, not action-based.
If what you've heard on Flow Research Collective Radio has been helpful, please consider doing us a solid and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to this. Reviews help us connect to a wider audience so we can get these peak performance principles out to more people.